Hi, I'm Dean Foley, and you're listening to the Indigipreneur podcast, a show about Indigenous entrepreneurs, innovators, and leaders, and their inspiring stories.
I had a few different ideas here and there in my head, but what really got me over the line to take the leap of faith in my own business ideas was probably just more developing confidence in myself.
On today's show, we talk with an entrepreneur who comes from humble beginnings in Tweed Heads, Dwayne Good, who now runs the biggest Indigenous travel firm in Australia, In Travel Group, that turns over millions of dollars annually. So you're a very successful businessman now, but where did it all start?
Born and raised in Tweed Heads in northern New South Wales. Which is on Bundjalung country. I probably lived there till I was about the northern New South Wales area till I was about 16, and moved to Brisbane. I lived in Brisbane for a very long time, and then around about 5 years ago moved down to Melbourne, which is where I'm recording this interview from. And I've been here for 5 years, and I've set up my businesses down here, and it's been a good city to live in. I definitely wouldn't say anyone in my family had much money. My father, I get my Aboriginality from my father's side, and my mother is non-Indigenous. So I grew up in both cultures, if you say, but both sides of the family. We had our challenges from a social point of view. We definitely didn't grow up with much. I don't remember us having much money, and I don't remember my parents really working much at that stage. Definitely probably a low socioeconomic sort of area where I grew up, and it was pretty challenged, and a lot of people in the area were similar to that as well.
And beforehand, you told me that you never really excelled at school. Can you tell me a bit more about your school years?
I went to school, and school wasn't really something that I understood nor focused on. I went to primary school at Coolangatta Primary and Tweed Primary, and around there. And I must admit, I didn't really grasp the concept of school, and I didn't concentrate. I wish I did, to be honest. So looking back, I really wish I did. I was just focused on other things, sports, having fun with my mates, socialising, and I ended up leaving high school at an early age, like start of grade 11. I didn't even get it started. So my school career wasn't very healthy at all.
So what did you do when you left school? Did you end up going to university?
Well, looking back again, I regret not concentrating. I think that's one of my regrets in life. But you move forward and you learn from your mistakes. So I did consider university, but I also, at the time of leaving high school, I was a good soccer player, and I had some opportunities in the soccer sport, and started to play like a professional sort of league up in Queensland. So that was my new direction, and I pursued that for a number of years. So I kind of had a direction. It wasn't education, but so the university thing got thrown out the door as well, and finishing high school was also thrown out the door, and pursuing my soccer career. But I didn't. I retired in my soccer career, and then I realised, I needed to have a profession behind me, because soccer didn't pay the bills. So I then realised I need a career path. That wasn't until my late 30s did I actually realise that.
Holy crap. How, like in your late 30s, how old are we talking? Like 36 or?
I fell into the travel industry around 27. I was 27, and I immediately knew that was my career path when I fell into travel.
So how did you fall into it?
I started my profession as a travel consultant, booking holidays for people, flights, accommodation, car hire for holiday goers, etc. And I immediately fell in love with that job, and I started to enjoy that. But I also then saw that, okay, this could be something for me in my future.
Yeah. And how did you fall into it? Were you just walking past one of those travel agency stores and like just had a magical moment, or were you pushed into it?
Through a friend who I played soccer with, actually, who he worked at Flight Centre, and I was always curious about the big machine of Flight Centre, and I had some odd sales jobs here and there, and so I thought I was a good salesperson, and my mate Cameron suggested to me that I'd be a good travel consultant or a salesperson. So set me up with an interview at Flight Centre, and then and then the rest sort of flowed on from there, and I ended up getting a job there, and then I spent about 7 years in total with Flight Centre, in various roles. So holiday consulting, and then I went into the corporate division where I became a business to business sales manager. So yeah, around roughly 7 years I spent with Flight Centre.
Wow. And what kept you there at Flight Centre for 7 years?
Oh, definitely. The culture there is great. You work hard, but you also celebrate your wins. I got to go on a few travel trips. I won a trip to China in my first 3 months working at Flight Centre, and for me that was enough to keep me there for the rest of my life. I was pretty excited by the fact that I just won China within my first 3 months, and went on that trip and came back, and I was I owed my life to that company after that. And then I went on many other trips during my career there, and a lot of free travel, which is just awesome. But at Flight Centre, one of the main things I loved was meeting so many other like-minded people who are just really good people, fun to hang around with, and I really bought into the culture there.
Did you know then, like, you had a real passion for travel management, or was it just something to pay the bills to begin with, and then you just developed a passion for it?
I definitely developed a passion for it really early on. I loved putting travel itineraries together for people and giving them advice. I really loved that. So yeah, I grew a passion for travel pretty quickly. But then as I was evolving in my career there, I realised that yeah, there could be a business opportunity for me in the future, where I could potentially run my own travel business. I did think that along the way, just never really had the confidence early on in my career there, but started to think, okay, this could be something for me in my future. Um, and then obviously it was something for me. So I definitely, I definitely absolutely did fall in love with travel.
Nice. Because, yeah, I guess a lot of people say, follow your passion, but it sounds like, you just, did the work and then, became good at it and became passionate about it, which is different. So, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And when was the aha moment, like you realized that, you had to go out there and start your own, like, travel management business?
Yeah, as I was saying, I had a few different ideas here and there in my head, but what really got me over the line to take the leap of faith in my own business ideas was probably just more developing confidence in myself over time, and getting confidence in myself around um, knowing that I could successfully run a business, knowing that I had what it takes to run a business. That was probably really. I had some great ideas in my head, but I didn't actually have the confidence to go out and try these things on my own. I wasn't brave enough at the time, and I was developing that naturally um, over time, and then eventually thought, okay, this is it. And so 3.5 years ago, we opened up in Travel Group. So it was around about oh, yeah, it was around about then. Well, actually, I resigned from Flight Centre. I told them I had some business ideas that I wanted to analyse, and I went on a holiday for a couple of months, and then I decided, I'm actually going to take the plunge, and then opened up in Travel Group.
Awesome. Why didn't you have that confidence? What was holding you back?
I just really think it was I guess I had I fell into jobs in my past, and I fell into jobs and never had a direction for, there was nothing on purpose happening. But so that type of method, I think it's very ad hoc. So I lacked confidence in knowing if I could open a business or not. But what I realised was when I took the plunge and where I am today is that that was false. That was false insecurity. It was actually a little bit more straightforward than I thought, less daunting than I thought. Whilst it's still hard work, it wasn't as hard as I thought.
So do you live by that Nike motto now, just do it, or do you think people should live by that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've learned a lot about myself throughout this process, and I won't be thinking like that ever again. And it's onward and upward. And 3.5 years in, we've got a business that's still around, and we're growing and further opportunities. And yeah, I've proven to myself that I shouldn't have had that doubt. So that was a silly thought that I had in my head that I've now changed.
And your quick flight sensor, I'm just curious, where did you go? Did you go to a base there and just party up, or like?
Well, to be honest, I actually I went snowboarding, and I did a little bit of snowboarding. I just sat around the house thinking, pondering life, and then just working on my business plan half the day, and then and just kind of getting ready for just making sure I was ready for the next phase of my life, which was business ownership, and and then off I went. So the snowboarding was great. It was a good time to reflect, sitting on top of a mountain and looking down and going, oh, what's life all about, and can I be a successful business owner, and etc. etc.
Did you have any like mentors when you were getting into it, or were you just kind of just a solo entrepreneur, just running through it?
I'm a big believer in mentors. If I'm able to leave some tips of advice today, this is one I wrote down before the interview, is that you need to have, and I'm a person that likes to bounce my ideas and questions and challenges off other people around me, everyone. So you need people around you who have been there before, or who have something to contribute to what you're about to do, or your challenge. I had a few people around that that had already started businesses, particularly Indigenous business owners. People around that were, a little bit older than me, who'd made mistakes around business, who had succeeded around business. I spoke to a lot of people, and I bounced the idea off them. And I was actually quite a pest. I would just ring people up that I haven't even met before, who I knew that were in business, senior Indigenous business people, and I would ask them what they think of my idea, and I'd ask them questions, and I would just formulate some confidence in my head about what I was about to do.
So, when you were telling people about this, openly discussing, were they trusted people? Were you scared like somebody would try and steal your idea and run with it?
Yeah, there was actually that fear, which is a strange one. There was a fear that people might, particularly other black fellas who are entrepreneurial, that they could run away with my idea. But I was pretty careful about it, and to be honest, I just trusted them, and yeah, no one did the wrong thing. I also knew that my idea, if you didn't have any travel experience, then my idea would be hard to replicate. So I was cautious, but at the same time, I was like, okay, I think we're all good here.
That's one of the things, right? Like some of those big entrepreneurs are just so confident in their own ability, they don't even worry about the competition. They're just like,
yeah. That was my feeling. I was like, there's nothing going to stop me here. When I gathered momentum, there was that mindset. And I'm still in that mindset, but obviously they can become competition. And if other Indigenous owned travel agencies pop up, I'll be proud of that. I've changed the sector, and that's all good now. I feel like that's okay. But at the start, if another one popped up, I'd be a little bit nervous. But But yeah, it's all good now. But yeah, look, there are a lot of good people around, and just on that point, blackfellas in business, I found, and I still find, you talk to anyone, any blackfella in business, and they are nothing but supportive. So it's a different. It was easy for me to trust because I knew that they wanted to help and they wanted to see me succeed. And that's one thing that the Indigenous business community does well, is support each other.
That's awesome. And who were like some of the mentors that stood out? Were they just people you met in the travel industry and in the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community in Melbourne?
This is an interesting concept as well. Your mentors change over time, and the time frame that you're in, and the challenges that you're facing become different. You start to seek different mentors, and mentors come in and out of your life over time, and they come in at the right time, and so on. So in the early days, very early days, there's one guy I'd love to mention who I called. This is one of the guys I called out of the blue, and I said, "Hey, what do you think of my business idea?" And this, his name is Bevan Mailman. People might know him listening to the podcast. Bevan Mailman. I ran this idea by him, and he said, and I asked him a bunch of questions because I know he's got a legal background, and he said, "Well, why don't you just do it?" And that was one of the actual pieces of advice that stuck with me today, that he just said to me. He just asked me one question that when I hung up the phone, it made me go and do it. He just said, "Why don't you just go and do it?" And that was just an awesome one-liner that just totally got me going. So there's Bevan. There's some other Indigenous business people around, like David Williams from Galimba. I had a mentor, an Indigenous mentor in the when I started my travel traineeship all the way back, around 10 years ago, Jody Sampson, also from northern New South Wales. There's a lot of good people around. There's some really good networks within the Indigenous chambers of commerce. I would go to those events. I would ring those people. They might not know that they were mentoring me, but they were, and I got some great advice from a lot of good people. My current mentors, there's a lot of good people around, like Shane Kennelly from Kennelly Constructions. I do pester a lot of my current clients. The people that founded those organisations have some great advice and tips. I do pester a lot of travel industry professionals, not necessarily Indigenous people, but people who understand the travel market and the challenges. So there's a lot of great people around, and I heavily recommend that you find as many good people as you can if you're opening a business or still in business, because people have some great advice for others in business.
So from memory, put you on the spot here, but what are one or two things of that great advice or tips that you received, like old mate who's the lawyer that said, just do it? Are there any other moments, so that mentoring, where they just gave you invaluable advice that really took things to the next level?
It really is just that one piece, is that positive reinforcement that I should give this a go. Why not? There was a lot of that. There's a lot of that from a lot of people I spoke to. There's a lot of detailed advice. There is some detailed advice, like make sure you get a good accountant, and make sure you do this and do that. There's a lot of, and it's probably too hard for me to remember all of those bits and pieces, but I think it was just trust in yourself and take the plunge, which was the main piece of advice from everyone that I still remember.
And now that your business is growing, do you find you're looking for, have you kind of outgrown some mentors? Are you looking for bigger mentors now? Are you going to start pestering like Bill Gates and stuff? Or?
Well, I will start pestering some different mentors. I definitely believe that I should start doing that. I've probably already started the process, but I guess as we've evolved and we're taking on new challenges, you've got to find those mentors or people that will have an understanding of those challenges. So for all the high-level business people out there, I'm going to start pestering them. They might get calls out of the blue, or bump into me at events and whatnot. But that's the process that I will take. Yeah.
Just gotta, just, a lot of them will probably say no, but there might be one or two that can say yes. So
you'll find that a lot of people have something, even if it's one sentence or one line, they'll have something beneficial for you to listen to.
And it's nothing personal, right? If they say no, I mean, they're probably just busy.
Nothing personal, yeah. I mean, there'll be times where we all have to say no.
So you started in Travel Group. How did it start off? Was it like a massive success to begin with, or like what happened?
Oh, it was tough. Yeah, it was really tough. And look, it's still, we they say that the first 3 years are the toughest, and I definitely agree with that. There was myself and another person, Danny Kolaski. Me and her ex-flight center people. We were in a little room in a previous house that I lived in, a tiny little room, no windows, and we were just plugging away, trying to grow the business. And the main activity for me back then was trying to win clients. So I was constantly on the phone telling people about this new business, telling companies about this new business that you should consider us. We had no reputation in the market. So that was the hardest part, was that people trying to convince people to use us that didn't know who we were, and then explaining to them, oh yeah, it's just myself and another person. Trying to convince them to come across from the security of using a large travel agency to this new little small travel agency was a challenge. It was definitely a challenge. It was a challenge for about a year, and I was just hitting the pavement, just trying to drum up business. Then more challenges come as you start to win business. You then have a challenge of growth. So all of a sudden you need to have a mindset to then fix the growth problems that you have of winning too much business. So it goes in phases, the different challenges in front of you. Like any growing business will see that, it will just, a new challenge will knock on your door as a new phase begins.
So you were just working from home. Was it like just a little office, like in your bedroom?
It was a bedroom converted into an office. It was like half a bedroom converted into an office. It was pretty lonely in there, I must admit. It was dark. Yeah, I guess that's where you should start. You got to start with a humble background. We had no money. I did get a loan. I actually went through IBA, so we got a business loan for capital startup. And off we went. And that was a key activity for the next 6 months, is winning business. Another challenge that I think we faced is that whilst you're so aggressively chasing your target for winning business to earn cash flow to pay bills, you do take your eye off the other things that are going on in the business, like processes and systems and whatnot.
No, that's awesome. If you don't mind me asking, I mean, you don't have to disclose like any money amounts, but how much did you get off IBA? Because obviously, some people have challenges with that at the moment. So.
Yeah. Look, over the time I have had to seek further investment to grow the business. Another challenge of mine was probably just not understanding the true costs behind this business. I won't disclose the amount, but they gave me enough to get us to where we are today. And we're proud to say that we've been self-sustainable for a very long time, but it was definitely enough to get us going. But in any new business, you do waste money. You do waste money on mistakes. And if I didn't have that insulation, I wouldn't be here today.
Have you got any tips for people to try and secure funding from IBA?
Yeah, you should really. You need to talk about the market and your potential customers. Like any financial institution, they just need to see that there is the ability for this business to pay back that loan. So cash flow projections are really important, but really understanding your market and understanding your clients and articulating that back to IBA. It doesn't even any financial institution. If you go to a bank, you still need to do the same thing. Banks are probably more. They will scrutinise you a lot more. IBA are a little bit more understanding because that's their responsibility to grow Indigenous business. But like any business case, you really need to prove that you are going to go and win X, Y, Z worth of income, and you know how to go and get it.
Definitely. So was it just one massive contract you won after a year of work? Were you just getting heaps of little runs on the board and then you just scored a massive contract that really set things off? Like, how did that growth spurt go?
Yeah, so, after the many phone calls and many meetings, I was getting on planes and flying across the country. Which is a funny story, and I hope we got time, but in the early days we had no money, so I would always fly the cheapest airfares at the cheapest times of the day. So I was getting up at like 3 a.m. to get on the cheapest airfare, and I was getting in the smallest car hire. So I was getting like in tiny little cars, and I was staying in the worst hotels possible. That was in the early days, just to go and get and cram like 4 or 5 meetings into a day. And then I would win. I'd have some success on the road. I would win, 1 or 2 of those accounts. So these businesses were, let's say, because they are currently in Travel Group, the smaller operation, we have an average account size of about 150 grand a year in travel. So these companies are spending about, let's say $15,000 a month. So in the early days, we won, let's say 5 of those in the first, say, I don't know, 3 to 4 to 5 months. 5 of those average-sized accounts. I must say that those accounts, they're still with us today. They were a massive help, and their trust in us and me was why we're here today. And I can't thank them enough. They're Indigenous businesses and Indigenous people too. So that's another really good example of blackfellas helping each other out. But we wouldn't still have retained them unless we gave them great service. So that's the part you owe them is great service. So they took a leap of faith in me. But there was only a handful of them at the start. Now we have over 60 companies, around about the same average account size. So 60 of those companies using us today. 90% of those are Indigenous organisations.
So you turn over millions now from...
Yeah, that doesn't result to the numbers of what you're thinking with profit though. Low margins in travel.
Not millions in profits just yet.
No, we're still tough slog. We're still got a lot of work ahead of us. Still got a lot of bills to pay.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think you mentioned too, the Indigenous businesses helping you out because you're an Indigenous business, but you still had to deliver, great service and be just as competitive to the competition. Like you can't just fly the flag around and then not do the work and expect to be a billionaire.
Oh, exactly. You're actually scrutinised more, I think, particularly in our position. We were a small business with a couple of people, that we were being scrutinised heavily and benchmarked heavily. And, we had our work cut out for us, particularly as an Indigenous business. There's also the spotlight is a bit brighter, I think.
How so?
I just think that, there's some mentalities out there, particularly if you spoke to a non-Indigenous business, about using providing services. The spotlight was a bit brighter. They would maybe think that you might fail a little bit quicker or you wouldn't succeed. There was a little bit more there's a little bit more scrutiny, I think. It's a tough one, but you don't know what's really going on in someone's mind. But I know that questions I was asked were we're pretty, people were analysing us a lot more carefully than they would other businesses.
Can you remember like 1 or 2 of those scrutinising questions? I mean, you don't have to mention the people.
Oh, just probably in and around, typical questions would be just, it's like, how are you going to survive the next XYZ period and, like what? Just really questions in and around sort of trying to find out if you're actually going to make it. Do you have the you know, you have the tenacity to make it through and so on. Yeah, and look, it's probably not just because it's an Indigenous-owned business, but mainly because we're a smaller business as well, and we're a startup or a new business that back in the day. So I don't really know, but I know that there are a lot of Indigenous businesses popping up now, Indigenous-owned businesses. They'll be going through the same questions.
Awesome. So you've been growing. You turned over millions and millions of dollars now. What have been some of the challenges of growing a business compared to just trying to get the clients?
Yeah, like as I was saying before, like phase by phase, you'll be met with different challenges. You'll have different challenges as you grow. Like you might realize you need super experienced staff who to run your business for you as you sort of start to do other activities. But with a super experienced staff member comes a different set of expectations. So, you're then faced with new challenges there with managing their expectations and yours and whatnot. And, with winning more business comes more pressure on your processes and your systems. You met with a bunch of new challenges there. And, winning a larger account, suddenly you've got greater expectations on cash flow management and so on. So, yeah, it's an evolving roller coaster.
So personally for you, growing, you bring it on staff, highly capable people. Do they have high expectations of you? Have you seen yourself having to, step up and be a better leader?
Oh, definitely. Hiring more, and our current team at the moment is a super experienced, great bunch of people. Been in the travel industry for years, my guys, and they're just awesome. I've also realised that they look to me for leadership, and they look to me for the vision and the future. And I sort of only really cottoned onto that over the last kind of maybe year, to be honest, and realised I need to step up and change the way I act and behave, and just be that leader that they're looking for, and that will be the same for any future staff that we have. Particularly Indigenous staff, young trainees that we hire and give opportunities to. I need to be that cultural leader, role model, and I've really started to click in the last year that I just need to be more.
That's cool. Are you able to give any tips to people out there who are in the same stage as you? Any books or recommendations, courses?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that reading is important. I think reading a lot of different business books is crucial. Look at this. I believe that books will jump off the shelf at you for particular reasons. So if you have a service industry business like mine that's it's customer service orientated, maybe you will benefit from enhancing your customer service skills. So you'd seek those types of books. I in the early days and still today, the success of our business lies in our processes and our systems. So I might find a book that's systems and process orientated. Or I might find a book that is around man management and being a better leader and so on. So I find that I will just find a book that I need at that time.
Really, what you're doing, every business should be doing that, right? It's around customer service centric, because at the end of the day, if you're not serving the customer, kind of what's the point?
Exactly. If you don't have customers, you don't have a business. So yeah, look, I think that in any industry, customer service is crucial. I think some companies do it really well, some don't. We've got a great model where we're a smaller business at In Travel Group, where it is just naturally people I hire are naturally good at relationships, so that's part of our customer service.
So just to put you on the spot, doesn't matter if you can't remember, but can you remember one or two books around customer service that would be beneficial to people to read?
There is one book I wanted to talk about today. It's sort of similar to customer service, but more around just business in general. And customer service ties into this, but I'm reading a book at the moment called Matter. Now, so how can you as a business matter more to your clients? So this book has really tested my my current knowledge of business, and it's helping me get outside the box a little bit, which will enhance our customer service, but it'll also make us a company that matters more to our clients. And I heavily recommend anyone who's in business. It's probably more like a business a book you should read if you're a couple of years into your business. But it's been an absolute cracker for me, this book.
Are you able to give one example from the book where you've taken away and you're trying to implement it now and in Travel Group?
Yeah. So just doing things differently that your competitors aren't doing. So doing things that add value to your business. So if you are doing just the standard day-to-day, what everyone else in the industry does, that's great, and you got great relationships. That's great, but that's just playing within the boundaries. If you can find something that makes you different to your competitors, that adds value to your business, and it keeps your clients coming back, then you will have a client for life, and your business will just be so much more valuable and interesting in the market, and it sets you aside from the competitors. You can do that at any size. You could be a small company like ours, and you can be a big company. But if you do something different than your competitors that adds value, then that's a good thing for your company. So that's what this book's doing for me. I can't give you any examples. I've got some awesome ideas which I want to try and launch this year, but I think we sort of do that anyway. With the formation of our new company, Inspire Travel Management, we're adding value by helping our clients contribute to social impact goals around Indigenous, around contributing to Indigenous Australia through employment initiatives and so on. So we do that anyway, and we do that in Travel Group, but I didn't realise I was doing some of this stuff naturally, but I really want to try and, with the guidance of this book, I want to take things to the next level this year.
Yeah, and you touched on that, the new business, Inspired Travel Management. How did it come about? Obviously, this is a massive, growth opportunity for you guys.
Yeah, so In Travel Group plays down in the SME space, small to medium-sized enterprises, and we can't really necessarily grow. It'd be too risky for us to try and go up to the top end of the town where the large corporates play. We would need a lot of technology, infrastructure, cash flow, etc. So it's probably not something that In Travel Group wants to do, nor can do.
So IBA won't give you a bit of money to do it. Yeah.
Well, they probably would, but I just think we would. It's too risky. And then let's say the business didn't succeed, and suddenly I've got a massive bill that I've got to pay off and the rest of my life and be unhappy. So the smart way to do it is to partner with an already existing travel company playing in that space who have a lot of money, the technology we need, a lot of great brains around, and have a lot of runs on the board already. So we're partnering with Hello World owned business QBT. Inspire is a 60% Indigenous owned travel management company, so they own the other 40%. Essentially, what I've done is gained access to all of the things that we require to go and manage travel for the larger end of town. Companies that are spending millions and millions of dollars a year in travel. So we it's officially all over the line now, and you can imagine the scale of Inspire Travel Management. You can imagine the employment opportunities that we will have there. Will be not just travel consulting roles, but we can get black colors into marketing roles, IT, C-suite management. We'll need CEOs, CFOs, finance, accounting, HR. We're gonna need a lot of skill sets in that business, and that's what I'm most excited about. And by creating travel professions, not just jobs, but travel professions this is the first of its kind in the country, and I'm proud to be behind it.
Yeah, it's awesome. If again, you don't have to dive into it, but so how does a partnership work? Like, how did it come out to be 60-40? And, what does that mean for both sides and obviously employment and community outcomes?
So it's a joint venture. So two companies come together in Travel Group and QBT, and we create a separate entity to our businesses. That entity is 60% owned by myself and in Travel Group, and then 40% them. We come to that number based on what we think is fair and reasonable, and and whatever sort of parameters take part in your negotiations. So 60% Indigenous owned is something we're pushing for. The typical 51-49, that's pretty cute out there in the market. We wanted to have a real majority Indigenous owned. Not saying that a 51-49 isn't real, but we wanted more, to be honest. So I wanted more, and I wanted to get away from the cute number there and go into something a bit more, just a bit more, a bit more meaningful for our side of the fence. And that the last year and a half was just being purely negotiating and getting the best outcomes for our side of the fence, which are outcomes for community as well. So Inspire Travel Management will have offices around the whole country. So we'll have employment initiatives around the whole country. So this is a great outcome for Indigenous communities around the country.
Awesome. So again, you don't have to answer this, but so 60% of profits go to you, because I agree with the 51%. Like, it's cute, but you don't know, where that money's going. Like, Indigenous business might own 51%, but 80% of the profits are going to the non-Indigenous business.
Look, and this, and there'll be a lot of people that have done JVs. You do, like, the reality is that in travels, so the things that we don't have, okay, we have to pay for those things, yeah? So we have to pay for capital. We have to pay for the technology. We have to pay for these things, and it's important in the negotiations that the profit outcomes reflect the things that you don't have and the things that you're giving up. So at the end of the day, the wash up, you just need to have a fair and reasonable outcome from profit and your return. So what we're giving to the joint venture that QBT are receiving that they don't have is the cultural aspect, and the vision. I'm giving QBT the vision, and they're giving them the ability to tick some boxes in the Indigenous to contribute to Indigenous Australia where they haven't really been able to do that in the past. So I've solved a problem for them, so that should come at a fee. But they're giving us all of this technology and infrastructure and support, so that should also come at a fee. So whatever your outcome is, you just need to make sure it's fair and reasonable, and you're happy with your return. And I have, over the last year and a half, I've said no a lot. And I've said no to the deals that were put on the table because I'd simply wanted a better outcome for myself and in Travel Group and blackfellas around the country. So it's okay to say no if you feel like there's a shit deal in front of you. Just say no and walk away, because it's not worth getting into unless there are positive outcomes. Yeah, the profit share it can be slightly altered, but that depends on what you're giving up, what they're giving up as well.
So it's pretty, fair and split deal at the end of it, which is really cool. And this is obviously a big deal for you guys. Are you able to disclose the market opportunity? Is it obviously you're doing turnover millions of dollars at the moment in revenue. Is this business got the potential to do billions in revenue?
So to give you a point of view from the large market travel sector, let's say there's a mining company in the West. So that mining company might spend $50 million a year in travel, right? So that mining company has Indigenous initiatives. Then that's an opportunity for Inspire Travel Management. And the margins are incredibly low at travel, and particularly that size. But imagine if we have a few of those wins around the country. Imagine if we win, a big financial institution over here on the East Coast, let's say that was a $50 million account. That's a bit of an example of the potential success. Federal government is also an opportunity. We will more than likely have an opportunity with federal government, not the whole travel account, but a portion of. So that you can imagine the travel going on in FedGov, state gov. There's a lot of opportunities around town, and we're targeting the large end of town. Remember, so this is high end multi-million-dollar travel accounts, which the most exciting thing about that is that we're going to need people to run this business. So we can have true travel professional career paths for blackfellas around the country, and that's the most exciting part about it.
Yeah, because they don't exist at the moment, unfortunately.
No travel company does this, and now we're about to do this, and this is exciting. We're shaking up the travel industry, and we're doing something that's never been done before, and I think the travel industry needs it.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it. I'm surprised your old workplace flight centre don't do it, because they're the biggest at the moment, aren't they, in that sort of area?
They are the biggest in the country. I think that a lot of non-Indigenous companies and non-Indigenous people would like to do something in the Indigenous space, but they just don't know how. And essentially what I've done is taken a business idea to QBT, Hello World, and I've said, look, this is a good idea. What do you think? And they liked it.
That's really cool. How old's in Travel Group now? 6, 5?
3.5 years. So Inspired. So I'm the managing director of Inspire, and I'm the founder and executive director of In Travel. I'm splitting my time between both businesses and somehow cramming in another bunch of hours into my already busy week, and working my bum off for the next whatever. And that is my immediate future. It's definitely just working hard to achieve our goals, and potentially as we grow, diversifying into other travel services and products that are relevant to the market and that are interesting to the market as well. So yeah, look, it was sort of casting back to a previous conversation where I did lack the confidence in running a business or taking the plunge, and now that's sort of all behind me. I'm seeing the opportunities a lot clearer, and I'm just a lot more confident in our growth.
Awesome. And for you personally, obviously, things taking off, getting multi-million-dollar contracts, being in a position to give back to the community. What are some of the drivers and motivations that keep you going when you're working really hard?
I definitely want to give back to Indigenous Australia. I forever have not been able to find the right way to do that. I'm 38 now, and I've grown up with family and friends around me that have had challenging lives, and that's sad, and I've never known how to help them. But I might not be able to help them today, but I will hopefully be able to, with these travel profession career paths, be able to help other people and their families, and I've finally found a way to do that. Which drives me every day, gets me up every day, and motivates me every day. And also want my family, and particularly my son who's 7, I want him to grow up and be proud of my achievements. And these things get me out of bed every day, and these things help me do the long hours. Definitely, and I also don't want to fail.
So failure, you don't like failing?
I can't imagine what it would be like to actually for all of this to fall over. So I'm motivated by that. Maybe that's fear. How am I going to repay all my loans and everything else? Just the normal emotions that everyone else has.
And do you see business as potentially the great equalizer in helping close the gap through economic development, entrepreneurship?
100%, yeah, definitely. I'm 100 times more likely to hire blackfellas than a non-Indigenous company is. They're true facts out there, and it's it's very true. Like I do make a conscious effort, and this is in my long-term vision to do that. So, but I made a comment before. These are travel professions. I don't want to give just jobs. I think jobs are not, jobs are great, but they bring money home and pay the rent. But I think a career path that you like and enjoy will give you confidence and will give you fulfillment in your life and passion. And I think you can take more home to your family when you're passionate about what you're doing and you're enjoying what you're doing. So I feel like that if we get as many blackfellas as possible passionate about their career paths, then I feel like that's contributing to the country.
So not just another mining job or government job for them in traineeship?
That's right. Obviously, for people that want jobs that are it's hard to explain, but maybe
Can travel the world.
They want a straightforward job where they can just come and go. If that suits that person, that's great. But I just feel like there's a missing piece, and that's in and around long-term sustainable career paths for those that want career paths that are slightly different. It's not for everyone. Everyone's different, but I feel like there's a gap in a lot of industries.
Massively. And you see that a lot. I mean, you always see the government promoting, traineeship jobs in administration, thousands of these jobs every year. But, who wants to just be an administrator?
Yeah, exactly. Again, if that's what someone wants to do, that's great. But I feel like we need to do more. I think there's other opportunities out there. And I think that the rise and success of Indigenous business will naturally do that. There's so many great Black businesses around. There's some amazing companies in some really interesting industries and sectors. And if they grow, they then provide career opportunities to other Blackfellas. Then suddenly, we've just got more opportunities. And my son will grow up, and he'll go and he'll look at me as the leader of these travel companies, and suddenly he knows that he can go and work in this industry as well. So that's just an example. And there's plenty more great examples around the country.
So true. And hopefully we can interview them too. So as a last statement, is there anything you would like to add that maybe I didn't answer or give you a question to?
I'm not sure. It's been a good yarn. I think that it's been pretty comprehensive. Maybe lastly, if anyone is out there thinking about starting a business, and you want to know why you should, or you want to have the confidence as to why you should, then think about those social impact things that we've just mentioned in the last 5 minutes. There's really good contribution that you can do for your community, but also the country. If you can contribute back by providing career opportunities, then that could be your why as to why you should take that leap of faith.
That concludes today's episode of Indigipreneur. If you'd like to know more about Dwayne's company, you can visit their website at www.intravelgroup.com.au or connect with them on social media. If you like this episode, please share it with friends or connect on social media at Indigipreneur, where you can find more episodes like this. Are you a young Indigipreneur? If yes, come along to our First Nations Youth Summit, which will be hosted in Brisbane on the 28th to 29th of June. It's an opportunity to connect with other First Nations youth, create new professional networks, and learn new skills you can take back to your community. For more information, please go to the website at firstnationsyouthsummit.com. This episode was brought to you by Vasudhara Foundation. The Vasudhara Foundation supports social entrepreneurs to build creative and innovative projects that deliver positive social impact. In addition to their philanthropic work, they manage private investment portfolio which generates the resources to fund these social projects they love to work on. Feel free to get in contact with them at contact@vasudhara.org or visit their website www.vasudhara.org. Today's episode has been hosted by myself, Dean Foley, and produced by Damien Rensley.